Peg Gantz. While listening to your most recent Q&A, I realized that I have no idea if, in the Scientology belief system, body thetans are limited to human beings, or if animals also have them. In fact, what is the role of animals, particularly pets, in Scientology? Well, that's an interesting question, Peg. It's one I've not considered before. In all the material I've read from the OT levels, Hubbard didn't particularly bring up animals or the fact that animals would have body thetans. In fact, it's always been, and I've addressed this before, it's always been a bit of an interesting question as to whether there's a thetan, an individual spiritual entity, connected to each individual pet. Lots of Scientologists, especially cat and dog owners, are absolutely convinced that their pet is occupied by a thetan. You know, they say just look in his eyes, you can see it's a thetan there. You know, and why a thetan would be occupying a dog or cat body, nobody ever really particularly mentions or talks about. It's really interesting the way Scientologists sort of like assign these ideas and then don't really think about them too much. Like, oh, so does that mean that lions and tigers and bears would have thetans? You see, it's really not addressed. There's this general idea of theta, life force or life energy, and then there is a thetan who is an individual. And Hubbard is very clear that the individual thetan is an individual independent entity, is not connected or tied to any sort of other entity. We're not all one creature. It's not like that in Scientology. Hubbard was very clear about that. So when you look at, you know, and then he did this you know, plant thing with the tomato where you see him with the e-meter and he's got the electrodes stuck into the sides of a tomato. And he said that the results of that research, quote unquote, that he was doing with the tomato was that life didn't have a separate or different or unique nature if it was a plant versus whether it was an animal. It's all sort of thetanically inspired or motivated, or that's what is life, is theta. So that's as deep as he ever got about it, at least as far as I was exposed to. So that's always the sort of where I have to end off in talking about it, because there's everything else past that is just individual Scientologist conjecture, unless there's other information I didn't get exposed to, which is entirely possible because there's thousands of lectures and I did not see or listen or read all of them. So, but that's what I do know about that. And so body thetans with animals, not that I know of. And there you go.